Welcome back to Gillis TV. Today we are going to be talking about the high-flying Oilers. Got to see them live yesterday afternoon with Dolany TV and the Oilers Fanatic. Great game. Calvin Pickard played great. The defense during this 7-game win streak, besides a few goals, have been playing pretty decent. And what can we say about Evan Bouchard? Just killing it offensively. Defensively, he's coming around a little bit, and we can see that. Now, being on Twitter and Facebook today, it was like reading, hey, we don't have to make a move. Should we just stop all trade talks? No, do not stop all trade talks if you're Ken Holland. The reason for that is there's a couple of reasons. We're still trying to improve our team. We want to be the next Stanley Cup champions. We're going to need to improve this team if it's a second line right winger because Connor Brown, let's face it, hasn't been offensively producing. Has been pretty good on the penalty kill and, forechecking, but the offensive numbers aren't there. I get he's coming back from a huge surgery and stuff, but we are 25 games in. We can't start using that excuse. He's been around for most of the season. We got to get away from that excuse and maybe find a top 6 right winger to play on that line. You also have to look at your bottom 6. Who's not producing, who's producing, who's doing what. That could be another thing. And what about that $5 million goalie that's in the AHL right now that's still going against our books for $3.5 million? This is the whole part of, yes, we're on a 7-game win streak. It's great. We are having the time of our lives right now watching the Edmonton Oilers win games. And, of course, we got Connor versus Connor tomorrow night as the Blackhawks are in town. Now, we got to improve this team somehow. And with the salary cap, it's kind of a hit or miss because once the trade deadline comes, if you have salary cap that you're not using, it actually accumulates. So if you have, say, $1 million once the deadline comes, it rounds out to like $3.5–4 million or something like that. I'm not too sure how the math works, but that means you could get a $3.5–4 million player once the cap or the deadline approaches. That's what the Edmonton Oilers need to do. There are some trade targets out there that they could be talking about, but the main thing Ken Holland needs to do is figure out if Jack Campbell's going to be the backup to Stuart Skinner. If you go out, trade Jack Campbell for a backup goalie, if Calvin Pickard's going to be the backup goalie, sorry, I mumbled there, which Calvin Pickard, in the relief for Stuart Skinner against Carolina, did pretty good. Yesterday afternoon, he was fantastic. And then, if you're keeping Calvin Pickard, you try and bring in a goalie or something to back up Rodrigue. Because right now, Olivier Rodrigue could be the Oilers' backup next year or in 2 years. He is a good goalie. But if you're going to have Jack Campbell taking games from him, his progression's going to slow down in Rodrigue's. And then we're probably stuck having this conversation again in a year to 2 years. Right now is the time to figure out what you are doing with Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell has the same amount of wins as Calvin Pickard, and Calvin's only started 1 game and came in relief for 1 game as well. The Edmonton Oilers don't need to stop trade talks. That's all I've been seeing on Twitter and Facebook today is they need to stop trade talks. No, they need to improve this team. And to improve this team, you either make enough cap space that by the time the deadline comes, you can get a decent rental, because going on from next year, depending if you trade Connor Brown or not, and the salary cap wise, you probably can't keep a top 6 forward after this year, so it's going to have to be probably a rental. Now, are you going to try and improve your defense? Of course, you can always improve your defense, but right now the Oilers' defense is playing really good. It would have to be a holy moly, did we just actually pull this trade off to get so-and-so? Like, that kind of trade right now. But it has to start with Ken Holland and Chris Knobloch figuring out what they're doing with Jack Campbell. Because Jack Campbell is creating this cap space that we can easily get rid of. There are teams in need of goalies. There are teams that need to reach the salary cap floor and all that. And Jack Campbell would be the perfect fit for them. Now, like I said, with the salary cap, you also have to remember Dylan Holloway will be back within the next week. 2 weeks is roughly what everyone's talking about. Now, how can you do that? Well, you either send Ernie back down to Bakersfield. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this. Sam Gagner, which I don't want to see, but he realistically could be an option. James Hamblin has been playing amazing on that fourth line, getting his chances, winning faceoffs. I don't know if you move James Hamblin for a winger to come back in Dylan Holloway. So that's kind of the point of this video is the Oilers cannot just stop with trade talks, sit back, and let this roll. They need to improve their team. And I know a lot of fan favorites was Klim Kostin. I don't think he's a realistic option to improve this bottom six. One name that I would actually go for, and same with talking to other people, is Nick Bjugstad. He was great with the Edmonton Oilers, provided that bottom six center depth could kill penalties. Best part is, if you can get him from Arizona, which right now would be tough because they have a winning record, Nick Bjugstad is signed for 2 years, which would be great. But the Oilers need to look at how to improve our team now. You look at teams like Tampa Bay and all these Stanley Cup winners. They trade their first round picks year after year. They aren't using those first round picks. They're trying to get rentals or players that they are rentals and can re-sign to help their team in the future. That's what the Edmonton Oilers need to do, and it starts with making a decision on whether or not to trade Jack Campbell to improve your goaltending, because right now Calvin Pickard is an improvement over Jack Campbell. Sorry to say, but that is the truth, the way Calvin Pickard's going to play. I know Calvin Pickard's not going to win 100% of his games this year. It's just how it is, but he is doing better than Jack Campbell in the AHL numbers and the NHL numbers. So if you're the Edmonton Oilers, you look to improve the team right now. Even if it's a subtle change, I know Philip Broberg's rumored to be requested for a trade because of what his playing time is, which sucks to see because he does have potential. Use him as trade bait with Jack Campbell. Get yourself salary cap room and work your way from there. But that is it for me today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Gillis TV. Have a good one.